Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As the House is aware, this year's Finance Bill is presented at an unprecedented time in British peacetime history. The pandemic has hit the economy very hard, but the government has not stood idly by over the last year. Extensive levels of economic interventions have been introduced to protect jobs, businesses and our people in order to help them through this pandemic. The impact of this on the state of the public finances has been drastic, with the budget deficit rising to £355 billion in 2020-2021 and our national debt rising to £2 trillion. And this, of course, is not a sustainable position. But as we know, the tide is turning. The government's excellent vaccine planning, procurement and rollout means that we can now see the end in sight. The economy and society have begun to open up, but we are not there yet. The budget introduced by my right honourable friend, the Chancellor of the Exchequer, in March, therefore, had to achieve a very delicate balance, that of maintaining both high levels of economic support during the continuing global health crisis, whilst also laying the groundwork to repair the public finances and support our economic recovery. As part of our economy is the housing market, encompassing both property sales and construction. And I'm going to address my remarks primarily to the decision to extend the temporary stamp duty land tax holiday. As my right honourable friend, the Minister, said in his speech earlier on, when the pandemic struck and the first lockdown began in March of last year, the housing market experienced a sharp decline in sales, falling 43% in the second quarter of the financial year when compared to the same period of the previous year. Now, historically, a sharp drop in transactions, if left unchecked, has led to a fall in the level of house building. The government's action introducing revised thresholds at the lower end of the market, abolishing stamp duty on the first £500,000 of a purchase price and setting the level of 5% for the next £425,000 has greatly alleviated the problem. In my own constituency of Orpington, Mr. Chairman, the average house price is currently £528,000, and the effect of the government's intervention has reduced the level of stamp duty by 91% on an average transaction. This has led directly to a strong recovery in the local housing market, which is also reflected nationally. According to HMRC figures, in the third quarter of the last financial year, housing sales increased exponentially on the previous quarter, and in the fourth quarter, transactions were at their highest level since 2007. Now, this is extremely welcome in the short term because I believe the government have achieved their objective of stabilising the housing market and maintaining confidence in the construction market. By introducing an extension of the initial stamp duty holiday, followed by a tapering of relief, the government have taken steps to remove both the danger of a cliff edge, which could have reversed all the good work that had been done in the latter half of last year, and prevented an unsustainable long-term boom in house prices. And I believe that that is the right approach at this juncture. In the longer term, though, I would urge the government to take a long, hard look at the structure of stamp duty. Stamp duty thresholds have not kept pace with the rise in house prices, meaning that this has become a significant barrier to purchasing. This is particularly so in places like Orpington, and is even more so in other areas, particularly of South East England, where housing shortages are most acute. There is a strong link between house construction and housing transactions, and in light of this, when coupled with the government's desire to ramp up house building and level up the country, a review of the wider stamp duty regime would, I believe, bear consideration. However, that is an argument for another day, once the battle with the pandemic is finally won. For the moment, I believe the extension of the holiday until the end of June is the right move, and the tapering of the holiday from the end of June until October is very proportionate and welcome, and I will be supporting the government on this evening.